What's up, Buffalo Bills fans? It's been a while since I've done a video, and it seems to be a common theme with me. But I didn't do videos really after the 2-0 start, and I did the one little short video because I just wanted to relay the message about fans, and I'll constantly say that message: watch, enjoy it, have fun. I know losing and the losing culture that seems to just be ingrained in us as Bills fans and the team, it, at some point, it's got to reach critical mass. And I think for us, back to 2-2 and looking at this season as a whole, not only for the Bills, but for the rest of the league, you know, New England last night and just some other teams. It's just nobody really is who we thought they were, or nobody is who we thought they could be or should. It's just very, the Saints looking like they do, and you got to remind yourself it's 4 games in, and so far the Bills have broken even in a season where I felt to this point, having watched the games that all 4 of those games were on the table either way. There was points in the game where the Bills could have just given up and lost, and there was points where they could have gotten over the hump and won. There were some instances in the San Diego game. They were on San Diego's side of the field and driving, and they ended up giving the ball back on a fourth down. It was right there, and the whole tenor of the game would have changed if they convert, go in and get some points. Even if it was 3, you still make it a one-score game with plenty of time left, and it just didn't happen last week. I know a lot of people talk about, well, you could have you put Orton in and all this stuff. It's of all the stuff that happened, and I'll tell you where I felt like the game really turned, and I know everybody will talk about an obvious play, but I'll talk about another one, another sequence before that. Then I'll get on to what I feel about the rest of the season, which is a long season. 12 games seems like a little, but if you look at when the season ends, it's going to be, well, we're already going to be into the new year. Anyway, it's a thing where you're conflicted, you're upset, and then you're sort of guardedly, well, let's see how this works out anytime there's a change of quarterback, because it's such a, polarizing position on any football team in any level, whether it's pros, college, high school. These kids, it's just these elite camps and these, Under Armour thing camps. It's just really, it's turned into just a huge deal where these kids are just learning how to be pro quarterbacks at such a young age. And when they get to the level, if they get to the level, which is a huge if, it's like everybody's trying to figure out, well, what gets them where they go to get over the hill, or what gets them to where they just fall. And I think a lot of times it's trying to hasten a kid's development or a young guy's development just because it's sexy and it draws a lot of interest, whether it's media, national, local, fan. You get a lot of buzz organizationally from a lot of different sources, because it's such a polarizing position. It's just you get a young quarterback who's got a good face, a good look, tall, stacked U.S. kid like EJ is, and you look at the timeline, and then you hear about Patton saying the whole plan was to put Cobb in. And I think universally as Bills fans, we wanted to see EJ. We were like, hey, let's see him. Come on, let's do this thing. Screw this development thing. We all were on board with that line of thinking. I don't think any of us honestly can look ourselves in the mirror and say otherwise. But obviously, with hindsight, it's always 2020. They made the bold move. They drafted him. I'm not saying that's a bust pick yet. I'm not even trying to get to EJ's a bust yet. I'm not trying to do that. But what I'm saying is, you look at what they've had to deal with at the position. You can't plan for injuries. You can't. In terms of, Cobb getting kneed in the head or slipping on a mat, or EJ, with that just freakish, like, it didn't even look like a play where he, got hurt on, and he ends up getting hurt, and he misses all the practice time and all the reps. Cobb is done, and they have to all the Thad Lewises of the world, and the Matt Leinerts, and the Matt Flynn, and it was just like, when is this gonna stop? And even into this off season where it's like, well, EJ is not looking sharp, and then it's like the backups look terrible, and then enter Orton, and I think having had the formula in place, whether it's win, lose, or draw, a kid does get to learn a set number of things behind a veteran that he doesn't otherwise get to learn if he's out there and he's getting shell-shocked, and the onus is on him. And let's be honest, to win in the NFL, you can't play around the quarterback anymore. You just can't do it. You can't, if you feel like you're fielding a playoff caliber roster, which they've come out and said, Marone's come out and said it, Whaley's come out and said it, they've all said it. You can't play around that position. You have to play through the position. The guy, let's be honest, there's very few guys in the NFL that play quarterback. Very few. I've watched probably 3 eras of quarterbacks. I watched I started watching the middle of the Elway, Marino, Kelly, the 83 class era. Montana was kind of on the tail end there in his last 4 to 5 years. And I started watching Young, hadn't quite gotten the job yet, but Montana was sort of on his last few years in the 49ers. And there was, Warren Moon, guys of that ilk around. And there's very few, even then, that can win a game independently of a team. Moon, put up great numbers, but it was always something else around him that wasn't there. He got sacked a lot. He did lose a lot of fumbles, believe it or not. Even with Aikman in Dallas, they had great defenses. They had a strong run game. There was a lot of complementary pieces around him. There was basically, the cupboard wasn't bare. And into the second, there's just very few quarterbacks that can do that. Then entered, obviously Favre was in the next era of line of quarterbacks, and then you can continue on with a few other guys that came in and played well and won some games. But there's very few guys independent of the team. People universally feel that way about Aaron Rodgers now. Peyton Manning. Very, very few. It's just something that, that's why you get excited about Andrew Luck. That's why there's so much buzz about the guy. The kid doesn't want to be a celebrity. He doesn't care about celebrity. Andrew Luck doesn't care about being a celebrity. He cares about playing quarterback and being good at it. And he has all the talent, the skills, the work ethic, and he's got it from the neck up and he's got it from the neck down. That's why, now I truly, have this 2020 vision, or 2010 vision even, of like, okay, I get why everybody's so excited. And then you get other kids that they want a bit of that buzz. They want a bit of that media attention and the cameras and the lights and the red carpets and the gala affairs. That's very enticing. So quarterback is just there's so many guys that can either handle it or Like Brady has seemed to be able to handle it well, very well, obviously. Manning, Rodgers doesn't. He wants it, but doesn't. He kind of does. He dips and dabs with his commercials, but he plays in Green Bay, not a big market, but a very storied franchise, a very you know rich history and a very strong fan base, a very wide fan base geographically. So this is it's very tough. It's just very tough to assess, to gauge who makes it, who doesn't, who's where, who should be paid. That stuff is that's media talk. That's talk for the fans, mocking drafts, this or that. Who's a reach? Who's not a reach? I mean, J.J. Watt should have been the first overall pick in the draft. He was, drafted in 11. He should have been, but he wasn't. In the 11th draft, he should have been the first overall pick. Over Cam Newton, even, but he wasn't. Cam was the flashy face, the face that won a national title. He's the big quarterback, the mobile quarterback, the new era quarterback. But at his position, as he played up to the level that J.J. Watt has played at his position, no. So you could say that the teams in front of them missed because that should have been the guy. Not saying that Newton's bad, but that's just the way it is. It's easy to look back and say where, who, this, that. That stuff is just blah. We should have had or we could have had this guy. That game is we can sit here until we're blue in the face and play that damn game. But it's not going to happen. History is not going to undo itself just to appease us. It's not. Right, on to the future, on to the now present. That's what I want to talk about. The game for me on Sunday, it changed where the Bills had just punched it in. EJ threw, I think, one of his best passes of the game. Just step back and put it right on Watkins. Watkins catches it, falls right in the end zone, touchdown. 10-0. Game's ready to be. It's ready to it's critical mass right now. They get a turnover on the next sequence of plays, well, one or two plays. In true Fitzpatrick fashion, he throws, he tries to force a deep ball. McKelvin makes an amazing play. Amazing play. And this is where I get very frustrated and pissed at the media because they don't own the things that they say. This is a guy they said shouldn't have been playing. Graham should have been playing, but Graham is the one who was sitting on Fitz throwing short. And, you assume Fitz isn't going to try to go over the top, but they were just, obviously, if you're playing against him, you just don't respect his ability to get the ball downfield, and justifiably so. But he didn't respect Hopkins running past him. He ran past him, and he burned him, and they scored a touchdown, and that was huge. That flips the score right there. But they get the ball back on a Fitz interception in pretty good field position because they get it unsportsmanlike, I think, at some point there. Pushes the ball onto their side of the field, and they don't do anything with it. And they leave a lot of time on the clock, and they go and score a touchdown. You don't get any points out of that drive. You don't get three. You got to turn turnovers into points. You make that score 17-0. They get another interception, the first play from scrimmage, and nothing. That, that's where everybody said it, the game flipped, and that's a 10-point swing. But if you send them into the locker room down 17-0 or 13-0, that is just, if the score is, 10-7 then, which it was at half, and you're the home team, you're like, well, we got the crowd on our side. We're getting the ball. We're good. Their quarterback is a young guy, and we can flush for him. We can rattle him. We can get to him. We don't respect his ability to hit guys, so we're just going to just stop their run and just keep doing what we're doing. So, and then the rest is history. The Watt thing happened. The Watt play happens. It's a great play by him. And it just seemed to spiral in the sense where they didn't you had the one play to Williams, and that's where EJ. That's the thing with EJ is you see him make these type of plays where he's running to his right and he throws a ball because he escapes. The coverage breaks down. Williams gets behind it, and Manuel hits him running. That's an amazing play. The week before in San Diego, he does this crazy escape from a sack and just dunks the ball down to Chandler. Huge play in the game. At that point. Even during the Texan game, he scrambled out. He avoided, and he got a ball to Chandler for like an 11-yard gain. I think the thing that stop trying to tinker with him so much. Change this mechanic and that mechanic. Sit him there and show him the positive things he does on tape. Look, you can do these amazing things. Look at these things. You can do these things. There's a lot of quarterbacks in the league that can't. You've got to do the rudimentary things correctly, from just taking the snap to dropping back, standing there. It just all the way through. You take the snap, you drop back, you read whatever it is you got to read or whatever your concept you're running is, and you just execute it. Just putting a ball on a guy. That's it. You have all the talent in the world. Cultivate it. And maybe this gives him the best opportunity to do that instead of shell-shocking him. And I really, honestly, truly feel like the team saw this move coming. They're there. They know the writing on the wall. And the way that EJ's behavior after the game was described and the way he was in the press conference and the whole, he was at his locker with his head down and everybody was leaving him alone. I think everybody knew he had lost his job, and he knew he had lost the starting job. And it takes a lot of rocks in the sock, for a coach to do it. To say even if he did go to the front office. Let me be honest with you. This isn't a call that anybody forces on anybody. When you change the quarterback, it's an organizational call. Everybody makes it. You just don't go, Marone doesn't walk past Whaley's office and say, hey, by the way, I'm benching EJ. No. They said, I know everybody loves to get into the reality TV drama mode and say it was this, they had bickered on the side. So what? They bickered on the sideline. Maybe they were like, well, it was just funny to me how everybody was making it out. Marone doesn't want him. The organization does. Why the hell would Marone not want a playable backup? Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he want a backup he could put in there and be confident could win a game for him, or a few games, or in this case, maybe a lot of games? Why wouldn't he? You don't think he wouldn't have wanted it last year when EJ gets hurt in a very winnable game in Cleveland? He doesn't want a playable backup then? He wants Jeff Toole? Why wouldn't he want that? I just don't understand that. But the organization does, but he doesn't. Or the organization wants him to just ride with EJ, and he wants to play the backup and win games. The guy's on the team for a reason. Do I agree with it? Initially, I was upset. Initially, I was like, shit, you're just so... It's demoralizing. You want to see a young quarterback become the guy. As a fan base, in our heart of hearts, we want to see EJ do it. Maybe this does it or it doesn't. If this weakens him and makes him fragile, then he was never the guy to begin with. Because you got to have some thick skin, and you got to go through some adversity, and you got to go through hellfire and brimstone. Because people are always going to judge you. Look what Peyton Manning still goes through. Look what Brady was going through last night after all he's done in the league. Maybe he is on the decline, maybe he isn't, but still. You just go on social media, it's there. And these guys have accounts. These guys are as accessible now more than ever. You can get to these guys. On Instagram, on Twitter, on their Facebook. These guys are there to be had by us. And it's them. You see them on there liking photos and posting. It's just, they're human beings. And that's what I try to impress. I had to impress it upon myself. They're not robots. So when you get certain reporters talking about them playing FIFA, I mean, they're young guys. They're younger than me, most of these guys. I'm 34 years old. A lot of these guys are in their mid 20s. I play Madden. I'm 34, and I know I'm not a professional football player and all this stuff, but still, they're humans. They can't be robots and sit there and stare at the playbook until their eyes pop out of their head. You know, do you think Robert Woods and Watkins and those guys want to see plays where they're being missed? I mean, it's a pay for play business. It's a business. You get paid to play football. So when people want to talk about, oh, Kyle Orton was on a couch doing this and that, he forced his way out of a situation and got paid for it. Wouldn't any of us? And let's hear somebody say they wouldn't come out and say, oh, shit, my job, I can hold my job up for $3 million right now and get out and wait for a situation to open up that I feel is conducive to what I want, and I'll prove it to you after this. We're all doing it. We are all gonna do it. And if you're a quarterback and a player, you want to find the place that gives you the best opportunity to play and be successful. And if you listen to everybody who knows anything about football to a man, they say the Bills have a pretty damn good roster. They've got some of the best talent in the AFC East. And EJ is the question mark. Save the injuries, because I don't want to hear it. Everybody else has injuries in the league. We see it every week. We see the tweets. Everybody gets them. So even with the injuries, still, none of these guys are out for the season that we know. None of them. Some of them are coming back. But that's neither here nor there. Now, Orton gets his little wish, gets his money, and says, well, now I'm going to wait either for an injury, and I'm going to wait for the best offer, and I'm going to wait for it after the preseason. I want to go to camp. I want to get hurt for nothing. I'm a veteran. I can run an offense. That's the thing. Like, he went and won a game against an undefeated team in a playbook he was probably in for 4 days. Route concepts are route concepts. It's just a matter of what you call them. We call this. You probably called this. Oh, okay. That's all. You call this route a zip. I call it an okie. You call this route a go. I call it a fly. That's it. You call this protection this. I call this protection that. You call this protection Bob. You call this protection whatever. You know, that one was big on big, if you wonder what Bob is. That's all. You know, you just go, it's just terminology. There's no magic plays. I try to impress that upon people. There's no magic formula. If you execute better, you win. And you see guys getting open, and EJ's missing them. You can't go in front of the team if you're Marone and say, this guy's giving us the best chance to win. It's not fair to the team because, again, sans EJ, there's 52 other guys on the roster, 45 active on game day, again, sans EJ, and you've got to get them going like, hey, you know, and I'm not talking about motivated. I'm talking about, hey, this guy does give us the best chance to win. And if he's putting balls on receivers and they're catching it in stride and they're running and the defense is like, hey, you know, let's get a stop and get the ball back to these guys because we don't have to pitch a shutout today. We don't got to worry about if we give up 3 points or, 10 points, we're not going to be able to win. Because these guys want to win. They want to be able to put that on their resume and say, hey, look, I won games, pay me. When some of these guys are up for free agency, look, I caught all these passes and got these yards. It's time to make some money. That's, again, these guys are humans. This is their thought process, part of it. And being competitive, obviously, in alpha males, you see them getting frustrated after plays, it's because they're human. And they've gotten to where they've gotten because they were the biggest jocks around. point blank. That just doesn't stop. When we get upset about these guys for getting upset about plays or having emotion, football's an emotional game. It's physical. Games are emotional. Sports is emotional. I watch games alone because I don't want to be around other people because of the way I act. And I know that. I mean, even my Bills buddies that I text with know me. You know, sometimes we go on our hiatuses and don't talk a little bit here and there, partly because of life, partly because, you know, we don't agree with each other on certain things regarding the Bills. But that's neither here nor there. I still love those guys. They're all good guys. They know who they are. And that's the truth. And we always end up talking again. You know, we've done it for a number of years now. That's just the way we do it. And it's part of the fun of sports is talking about it and enjoying it. And I know I've gone on and on. I've made this video way longer, but I think it was warranted because I haven't talked in a long time. I haven't talked about the Bills in length. I haven't, you know, and when you make a move at quarterback, it's a huge deal. And this early in the season, but they're still in first place. And I know people, like my one friend said, the Texans game was there to be had. Yes, I agree. I'll even go as far as to say the San Diego game was there to be had. I'll say that. I'll say the San Diego game was there to be had. I honestly think that game was there to be had. You're at home. There's momentum on your side in terms of your 2-0 going against a 1-1 team. I don't care who they just beat. This league is a week-to-week league. We've seen it. We know it, especially this year. But you just can't look at the schedule before the season, before you play it down, before you do the damn thing, and just say, well, you can't do that. It's like mocking a draft. It's like predicting you just can't do it. Strength of the schedule, power ranking, that's all scenery for the fans. And it gives the media something to talk about because they know people are going to sit there just mindlessly and just watch it glued to the television or the computer. I don't look at power rankings. If the Bills are 10-4, I know they're going to be somewhere up in the power rankings, and I'll be damn happy about it. But I don't need to look at them to make myself feel better. I'll be just happy that they won. But like my friend he said, we're gonna hopefully don't look back and say this Texans game was a game that they could have won. That's correct, but you don't want it to go any further than this. You know, there was a point in the game where EJ could have drove and scored a touchdown. They were moving. He threw the interception on the pass to Woods, which not to be a homer, I felt was pass interference on the Texans because that guy was just like mugging Woods. And I was like, wow, I've seen them throw flags on way less crap than that. And they just let it go. And the pass was picked. Obviously wasn't a good throw. They were on the Texans side of the field. And if they score there and they're 3-1, this doesn't happen. But they don't. So revisionist history just is what it is. But they wanted to see. Let's see if he can do this. Okay, EJ, do it. Show us. And not that he's not going to get an opportunity to show you again, because everybody's a play away from playing again. Everybody. Him too. He will be the backup now. And he has to prepare as such. Maybe this is the best way for him to do it. Run the scout team, take the backup reps, get to watch. Hey, look, this is the life of the NFL quarterback. I don't care if you're the practice squad quarterback, the third string quarterback, or you're the entrenched starter, or you're the veteran journeyman, whatever. This is it. So again, he's not guaranteed anything right now, nor should he be. Should anybody be? But Orton's going to get to go in there, and let's see what he can do. We're all going to watch. We're all going to be intrigued. I'm not going to say savior, because I don't think anybody's the savior. Like I said, I think there's very few quarterbacks who can win games independently of the team, but he can be steady. Steady the team, steady the offense. The offense can operate with some alacrity because we all have to admit and be honest. There's just times where the offense is just everything looks labored. You know, these last 4 games, the 4 games this season, just everything has just looked very labored. There's been no fluidity, you know, to it. It just where it's moving and they're getting in and out of the huddle and they're these quick hitting passes like you see some of the just teams do. And you have all this ability, you need to exploit it. Not play. Like I said, you can't play around the quarterback. You got to play through the quarterback. That's just the way the game is set up now. It's like it goes back to the defense too. Everybody wants to get on Gilmore. There's no shutdown corners anymore. There's no such thing. People throw at Joe Hayden's having a bad year for Cleveland. People have thrown at guys. There's no guys. Well, we're not going to throw there. Well, that's stupid. Because you're taking away one side of the field. I mean, Green Bay got flamed for not throwing Sherman's way. They just put a wide receiver out there and said we're not going there, and they end up getting blown out. You got the best quarterback in the league. You got all these weapons. You got to make somebody earn their money. The rules also, forget the rules. The rules are set up for you to make hay in the passing game. That's just the way the game is set up now. So as far as a shutdown corner, he missed a couple of tackles. He didn't get exploited in the passing game. The picks that were run, pick plays were run by bigger receivers. Not against him. They threw at him a couple of times. He gave up like a couple of catches. He gave up the one touchdown to Mike Wallace in the Miami game, but it didn't influence the game. They missed a couple of tackles. Okay. Deion Sanders came out and said, and I'm not comparing Deion I remember he was a pretty big time player. I remember I was in my teens when he said it. They don't pay me to tackle. Imagine if he would have said that now, even him being who he is, just like, they don't pay me enough. They don't pay me to tackle. I don't get paid to tackle people. He ran out of bounds to avoid tackling somebody. He ran out of bounds. He's in the Hall of Fame. Just so you can just calm down a little bit. That guy's in the Hall of Fame. He got a yellow jacket. I think he has, 2 Super Bowl rings? Yeah, he has 2 Super Bowl rings. Back-to-back years. 49ers, Dallas. Not to give you a history lesson, but yeah. He's, regarded as the best corner in football ever. One of the best. He ran out of bounds to avoid tackling somebody. And that's what he said after the game. They don't pay me to tackle people. So, he missed a couple of tackles. Again, I've gone on. This video is a half an hour, so I'm sorry, but I think it warranted it in terms of my absence, in terms of all the stuff that's going on. The Pagulas will be the owners for the next home game against the Patriots. That will be the first official game. They'll be in the owner's box, and there won't be a Wilson there. So a true new era that will begin soon. And I'm not saying they're going to come in and make sweeping changes. I don't think you've become a self-made billionaire by just, being a raging lunatic who wants to come in and just clean everything out. You saw the way it was handled with the Sabres. He let things be, step back and assess the situation. And, the guys that were in place there in terms of the coach and the player, the guy picking the players and the talent had been entrenched there for well over a decade, going on 2 decades. So changes were made after, I think, a year and a half. And I think the same probably will happen here. I'll be honest with you. They'll sit back and assess for a year because it's a long-term investment. You make $1 billion investment. You don't make rash decisions. You don't make knee-jerk reactions. You can't think like a fan. And the guy's a businessman first and foremost. And we'll see what happens. Whether they stay or where they go will be all predicated upon winning, as with every other organization. Every other organization is under the same mantra, under the same set, this nebulous must win now that doesn't, it's always win. care who you are. You want to win. The damn Jaguars want to win. The Raiders want to win. Cleveland wants to win. You want to win. That's just the facts. So people can stop saying this must win now. They weren't. There was no must. There always has to be. Always. That's all people look at the end of the day. Well, what's your record? That's it. What's the record? Oh, you think guys like Bill Belichick? You think there's a lot of guys that say they hated Parcells, but they liked winning. I mean, guys don't come out and say that about Belichick yet, but I'm sure they will. There's not a lot of guys that say they love their coach. They like to win. That's all. And they like being in a situation that wins. Whether Marone's a player's coach or not, it should not be here nor there, but it takes a lot of guts to do what he did. And again, he didn't just make the call alone. You don't do that at the quarterback position. I think it was collaborative. And all Orton's got to do, they've got 2 wins in the bank. And the way this season is going, it's a crazy season. Anything could happen with a big chunk of it left. You need 8 or 9. I think you need anywhere between, you need 7 to 9 more wins. Go get them. Go get them. They can be had. They're there. Go get them. That's it. Go get them now. So, all right, Bills fans, I'll leave you alone. It's a long time that this video has been going on. Sorry to talk so much. So much to talk about, but a little exciting. We're Bills fans, and we'll always be Bills fans, and it just gets the blood boiling a little bit. I don't care about the draft next year. I don't care about who. I don't have to sit there and scratch my head and wonder who the first round pick's going to be. I'll have to wait till the second, but I'll still watch the first night. Even though the Bills don't get a pick, I'll still sit my ass in front of this TV and watch. I might even mock a draft or two just because that's what kind of fiend I am. And they know they have people like me and us. They have us. That's just the way it is. All right, guys, you have a good rest of the week. Take care. Go Bills. It'll be interesting. Let's see now. Take care, guys.